Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic / Non-Classic. This is episode number 1380 and Doubleshot number 1274. Well, I have two DC trades to you. One is a trade for a series I have not reviewed in probably like a year or two at most. And the other one is a finale for a trade series, but not for the overall series itself. I still gotta review the first, second volume for the series. Okay, first up is the trade I haven't done in quite a while. We're going back to JSA. Yes, the series, well, at the time, done by Jeff Johns. Yep, this is volume 6 of the trade series, Savage Times. And yes, in the cover, we do have Shazam fighting Metamorpho. Now you're probably thinking, Metamorpho, what the heck is Rex Mason doing in ancient Egypt? Well, this is not Rex Mason. This is another person who was Metamorpho. Now, this book contains issues, I think it's like 39, I think it is. It's like 39 to 45. That's literally what is in here. There's like a few different stories in here. One of the plot threads in these issues is setting up the Black Rain storyline. Like having the current curator of the museum, of the JSA Museum, where he is infected with Eclipso. Yeah, that helps sets up basically the Black Rain stuff. And the stuff with Black Adam in here, him working with Atom Smasher, where they're basically planting the seeds for that storyline. Which is not the next direct one per se, it comes a little bit afterwards. Now, one of the things going on here is basically the character Cobra. Well, the leader of the Cobra organization, Jason Burr. He's been tried for his crimes against humanity, but because he basically has some of his followers implant bombs in themselves in front of the freaking courthouse, he's allowed to walk free, despite the fact the guy should be rotting in jail or probably be executed. The decision was ordered by the judge, suggested by Bones. Yes, Director Bones. Why? Do not know why. Because DEO. Yep. And basically, of course, it's revealed why Billy Batson joined the team of the JSA. One, to help train a new generation of heroes, and the second is basically keep an eye on Black Adam. That's simple gist of it. Though at the end of this whole stuff with Cobra, both Black Adam and Atom Smasher resigned from the JSA. Meanwhile, though, prior to this, we actually have something to do with time travel. Yes, time travel. Yes, because Billy Batson is basically, sent back in time by Vandal Savage. Yes, Vandal Savage. And they pretty much do a time travel experiment at Tyler Industries. Now, you're probably thinking, Tyler Industries, isn't this Rex Tyler's company? No, this was previously his father's company, but it was handed off to Rebecca Tyler for some reason. I'm not really sure why in the world Rex Tyler's father even handed off this place at all. It's kind of weird. To his niece instead of to his son, Rex, or basically Rick. Yeah. So, basically, the experiment done at the Tyler company is temporarily put on hold for about 10 minutes, just so you can do this time travel experiment with this cube. And they go back in time to apparently the 1940s or 50s. Can't really tell what decade it is, because Terry Salone is alive. Well, a past version of him. And he sees, oh, look, you must be my... it seems like he recognizes the fact that Michael Holt is from the future just by looking at him and by the technology. Because, of course, he has experience with time travel before. Mostly, of course, about Padagadon. Yeah, he's a classic JSA villain. Who doesn't appear in the storyline, surprisingly. But he does appear in the storyline JSA versus JSA, which is a really good story. I might get to it eventually. So I have to deal with some criminals, and, well, of course, Michael reveals that he's the chairman of the JSA. And he's like, a black chairman. He's like, got a problem with that? He's like, no, not really. Yeah, that's the neat thing about Terry Salone. He's not a racist. Despite the fact he's from a time period, basically, where racism was pretty high. Yeah, he's got zero problem with it at all. Yeah, and as far as I can tell, the one thing I appreciate though about the classic JSA members, the founder members, none of them are racist. Not at all. And you're probably thinking, really? Yeah, none of them are racist. Which you gotta at least appreciate though Jeff Johns writing this way. Heck, if you look at any other writer who's written the JSA, none of them is picked as racist. Which, that's interesting. Yes. So, then they basically go time travel again to ancient Egypt, where they step on a time cube and they come across Vandal Savage and a Metamorpho, though not Rex Mason. Surprisingly, they don't actually refer to Rex Mason. It's like, Rex Mason has not come to mind at all for some strange reason. I do not know why. It's just that I'm like, really, Jeff Johns? You do know that Rex Mason is still kind of around at this point. Oh yeah, by the way, this is present day stuff is in 2003, roughly 3 years prior to the end of publication of this particular book. Yep. Though I'm not really a big fan of how basically two people who could potential love interests for Courtney Wetmore, aka Stargirl, are written off as like, nah, won't work out. It's like, first it's Atom Smasher she had a crush on, and it was Jay Garrick sticking his nose in where it didn't belong. And then he did it again with Billy Batson. Like, Jay Garrick, what do you have against Stargirl getting a boyfriend? Yeah, but that's brought up here again. It's like, say, oh yeah, she's way out of your league. Really? And I thought it was kind of weird. At least I appreciate that. Also, here's the thing. Now, Michael Holt is not the only person who done time traveling. We also have, believe it or not, Hawk Girl, Kendra Saunders. She basically time travels too. And we also have stuff with Dr. Fate. Now, this is quite interesting because he thinks he basically brought back his wife, Lila Trevor. His wife. And nope, it turns out it's actually Dawn Granger. Dove. A woman who's supposed to be dead. Yeah, she apparently got killed off by Exant. Yeah, the guy who used to be her partner, though it's basically something with Lord of Chaos or whatever. Though that basically later leads into stuff with Mordru happens in the very end of this book, which is quite interesting to say the least. Yep. And in the case of basically the HH stuff, that's actually quite good. I love it. I love the the chemistry between Billy Batson and Black Adam of Ancient Egypt. It seems as though the way they're in the past, they're really good friends, and present day, they're just mutual respect for each other, but they're not friends, and they're no longer enemies, which is great. It basically moves past the whole evil Black Adam stuff, which is quite good. Gotta say, great book. Give this book a 10 out of 10. It's really good. Jeff Johns does a fantastic job with this stuff. Yeah, I know the trade's old, but surprisingly, it's in good condition for a trade that came out roughly about, let's see, how long ago was this trade released? This was released back in 2004. Yeah, it doesn't feel old at all. That was co-written by David S. Goyer. The artwork is done by Leonard Kirk and Patrick Gleason. Yep. Yeah, there's also a minor subplot with Power Girl in here. Involving this guy here who's obsessed with her. Yeah, but good artwork in here, and I love it. I can't wait to get my hands on more JSA stuff. Yeah, I basically, in a way, capped off Justice Society America Volume 3, so I figured, though, still got JSA at the cover, so good there. Yes, I will eventually cover the All-Star Comics one, the one from the Golden Age, like the archive books, and of course, there's also the one from the 70s, which I do want to get my hands on that. And, well, I know that the first two volumes have been put into trade. I think the second trade has come out soon. I think the first one just came out recently. One collects issues from the first volume for the series. Okay, next up it is the final trade for Young Justice by Brian Michael Bendis. This is known as Warriors and Warlords. Of course, these issues are co-written by David Walker. Interesting. The artwork in here now is interesting names here. We have John Thames, Scott Gawalski, Michael Avalon Deeming, and Mike Grell. The cover art here is done by John Thames and Gabe Eltabi. I think I can't see pronounce it. It's Eltabi. Taeb. Now, this person is also the colorist in here. Now, there are several different stories. This book collects issues 13 to 20, roughly the last 8 issues of this run, because the book ended last year after 20 issues. Do not know why. Oh yeah, in case you wonder what that sound is you keep hearing, it's my notifications from Twitter basically coming on my laptop. Okay. Now, oh come on, seriously, Jericho. Yeah. Yeah, the stories here are this. Basically, they come back to Earth, reunite with certain people. Well, one of the first things we see in here is basically the backstory for, of all people, Warlord. Yes, Warlord. And, yeah, this is where Mike Grohl comes in, basically showing up his backstory. This page here, this is all Mike Grohl's artwork. Yeah, the guy is one damn good artist. I mean, when people think of Mike Grohl, there's a couple books people think of when people think of Mike Grohl. People think of his Green Arrow run and Warlord itself. At least I appreciate though Bendis actually managed to get Mike Grohl to draw some pages in here, which kudos. They explain the guy's backstory in here, which I think is great. It's sort of an abridged backstory mostly, but hey, it's an origin story for Warlord. I think technically prior to him showing young, just the last time he physically appeared in a DC comic book was actually in the final story arc for Trinity by James Robinson. Yes, so technically James Robinson was the last person to write Travis Morgan, aka Warlord. And in case you're probably asking about Warlord's appearance. Now, you're probably thinking, it's just me or does he look like Oliver Queen? Well, yes, he kind of does. There's a reason for that, because Mike Grohl drew both. I think that appearance-wise, with the Valkyrie goatee, that draws heavy inspiration from Green Arrow. And he has met Green Arrow. And even he doesn't like the fact that he basically looks like Oliver Queen. The big difference between Trevor Morgan and Oliver Queen is that Trevor Morgan is 10 years older than Oliver Queen. I mentioned the fact he met a smoking hot woman there. A woman became his queen and the mother of one of his 2 children. He also has a daughter or 2 from a previous marriage. Yeah, that's it. That's the interesting thing about Warlord. He's a divorcee. Yeah, they mentioned he's actually from a different marriage. Like it's mentioned that he was divorced previously, but here's the thing. His daughter is a sorceress, and she's a lovely woman. And she did appear in the last appearance of Warlord and Trinity, but she's not here. Her stepmother is, but she isn't for some reason. Not even Warlord's son. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird, though. The Warlord's son does not make an appearance in this book, nor in the other book. Mostly put, and also, we have Bardine recruiting various people to help rescue Connor. Who does he recruit? Well, one of the people he recruits is Spoiler, which, that's not a big surprise there. Yep, recruits Spoiler. And this to help Young Justice, which the team is comprised of Wonder Girl, the Wonder Twins, Jenny Hex, Amethyst, Teen Lantern, Dial H for Hero, Impulse, Nami, and Drake, aka Red Robin. Now, who does basically Impulse recruit? Well, he recruits Spoiler, Aqualad, Arrowlet. Yes, Arrowlet. I mean, it's Young Justice. She was involved in the last book, so why not feature her? Which, good job, Bendis, bringing back this character. As far as I can tell for Arrowlet, this is her. As far as I can tell, yeah, she's wearing a redesigned costume from which she wore in pre-Flashpoint. But yeah, I believe this is her first post-Flashpoint appearance. And also, you're probably thinking, is that Sideways? Yes, it is. Those who know who the heck Sideways is, he's a creation of Dan DiDio, who appearance-wise is a ripoff of Spider-Man. Yeah, but done different color scheme. I mean, appearance-wise, I was thinking for DC Spider-Man, but the thing is, he doesn't shoot webs, and he doesn't, crawl on walls. Appearance-wise, he kind of looks like Spider-Man, but he isn't Spider-Man. He hops through portals sideways, hence his codename Sideways. He did briefly have an ongoing series. Yes, he had one. That got canceled after 12 issues. Yep, managed left with 12 issues. One of the few books was pretty successful under the New Age Heroes imprint. Yeah, he is not from the Wonder Age comic stuff, because that's the neat thing about Young Justice. Basically, all those new characters or previous redesigned characters who have in Wonder Comics for this book. But Sideways is from New Age Heroes. Yes. In the case of Aqualad, I believe, as far as I can tell, his previous appearance prior to this was actually the pages of Aquaman. Yes, Aquaman. And also, do not know why in the world they actually redesigned they changed the color of his hair. And here's the strange thing about this. Now, in the pages of Teen Titans by Ben Percy, he has the same real name as the one from the Young Justice TV show. This one has the same real name of the comic version of the character, Jackson Hyde. Yes. Now, both versions are the sons of... Both of them are son of Black Manta, but it doesn't really go much. It's not even mentioned here. Also, apparently, Sideways, first time we see him here, he's in Gotham City, which I believe he was operating the city at the time. And he's basically beating up the Trickster. Yep, the Trickster. From what I can tell, it's the James Jesse Trickster, from what I can tell. Yes, James Jesse, the original Trickster, which is interesting. Spoiler, which I think is great, though she's operating on Bloodhaven, which I think, that's interesting. Though she has to basically where Clue Master is. That's going to follow up a little bit later. Oh yeah, and they have Erla at school, which this is something that kind of follows up from Jeff Johns' Teen Titans book, where she was part of their. She went to school and, well, so they made the group really big. Basically, the group was probably 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and if you include the other members, 11, 12, 13. That's 14 characters. Well, 15 if you include Impulse, which is a lot. Yeah. So, then eventually, of course, they take out Star Labs, which apparently is evil according to Ryan Michael Bendis. This is by that kind of book. It's perfectly fine, pretty reasonable group of people. So, they kind of explain exactly why no one remembers Young Justice, why they remember each other. Well, it's due to some interdimensional being that they don't properly explain. And Bart does explain his backstory. Mostly, it's a mixture of new stuff with a little bit of what Mark Waid came up with back in the 90s. Excuse me. Though, here's the thing. They still keep the fact he's Barry Allen's grandson. And, well, mixed a few other stuff with hypermetabolism, which that was associated with Mark Waid stuff. Now, interesting thing comes to Cassie Sandmark, a.k.a. Wonder Girl. She refers to Wonder Woman's Aunt Diana, which you're probably thinking, why in the world is Cassie Sandmark the niece of Wonder Woman? Even though in previous continuity she was Zeus's daughter, not as a granddaughter. Now, they kept her mother the same person. Yes, they kept her mother the same person, Helen Sandmark, and still an archaeologist. But her father is a completely different person. Her father is a character pop up in Brian Azzarello's Wonder Woman run. And I at least appreciate, though, Bendis kept this thing, didn't retcon this out of existence, with the whole thing of Wonder Girl being Wonder Woman's niece. Yeah, that was something that somebody who has worked with Bendis over Marvel Comics, Greg Pak. Yes, Greg Pak. The same guy who he basically kind of almost screwed over, did a stupid retcon for his Totally Awesome Hulk book, saying, now, Pak said, oh yeah, like, I retcon the fact Bruce Wayne has no radiation in his body. Civil War 2, yeah, he does. He has radiation still in his body. He can still turn into the Hulk. Yeah, so he retconned that little thing, but he kept this canon. My guess is it was probably because he liked this idea, so there's that. Oh, in case you're curious, do give editors know exactly where you can find the air side of this battle. Basically, a more detailed thing of Young Justice team up with the Justice League. Does it happen in Justice League? No, it happens in Action Comics. Yes, Action Comics. You have to read that. And in the case of, well, what happens next, we have a standalone issue where Drake teams up with, yeah, of course, Drake is ordered by Batman about being Robin. Cool. That's a really neat idea. So, they're basically going after Clue Master. And Oh, yes. I love what they did with Clue Master. Oh my gosh, yes. It is so cool. Okay. You want to know what they did with Clue Master? And I thought this was so awesome. Okay. From what I can tell, this is his pre-Flashpoint attire. Yes. I think the only thing that they didn't give a change to was the thing around his neck. I don't think that was there before. But yeah, mostly it looks like his pre-Flashpoint attire. Oh yeah, and they basically mentioned he faked his death, even though he had his throat slit in Batman Eternal. Yes. Brainy Brittany. I think she's the editor here. Brittany. I think so. Yeah, she's the editor of the series. Yeah. I at least appreciate they mentioned. Oh yeah, they mentioned stuff happening in the pages of Batman Eternal. But the thing is, he had his throat slit by a Talon, who was Lincoln March, a guy who claimed to be Bruce Wayne's brother. Yep, and they took down his empire, and of course, well, Tim Drake celebrates by making out with Stephanie, and then of course they have a couple issues basically deal with a crazy Zeus. Yes, Zeus goes frickin' nuts. And of course, while Cassie's offered the place on the Pantheon, she says no, and that's that. But the final issue is mostly a mixture of, well, we have Young Justice get their own base operations. Well, in the TV show, this is their base. Mount Justice, what they call it in the Young Justice TV show. In the comics, it's referred to as the Secret Sanctuary, the headquarters of the Justice League. And it's almost like Bendis was clearly setting up, basically referencing the Peter David run. With, them be headquartered this place. Oh yeah, and by the way, their mentor being Red Tornado. Love the fact they brought him here. Yeah. And he gets along, apparently, I think they're all intruders. He gets wrecked by Teen Lantern. And then John Stewart shows up. Yes, John Stewart. Just cuz. Yep. Just cuz. The reason why he's here, because he wants to got the thing that T. Lancer has, and of course, mention the whole thing about them being sanctioned, and of course saying, never the end. Yeah, it is the end. Now, I like this book. My friend Tivia does not like the series at all. Which I'm like, really, Tivia? I enjoy this because I like Brian Michael Bendis' writing. I've never felt any of his DC books be weak or terrible. This book's got good artwork, good storytelling, great pacing. It wraps up a lot of loose threads in here. It wraps up the plot there with Star Labs, them traveling to the multiverse, which is really cool. The only thing they don't wrap up here is the stuff with Jim World. I believe that's explored in the Amethyst miniseries, the whole thing with Jim World. Yeah, this book I found to be thoroughly enjoyable. I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. It actually felt as though they actually had the Young Justice act like Young Justice while being back in their own team. Headquarters. Because they never had a proper one of this whole run. And they finally get one in the last issue. It almost seemed like though Bendis was basically planning to have somebody take over the book, but nope. DC has had to cancel this book for no reason at all. Now, what happened to these characters right after the series wrapped up? Well, as far as I can tell, let's see. In the case of Superboy, nothing I can think of. As far as I can tell, I don't think anybody's shown up since this book ended. This book ended just last year, surprisingly. But I found this book pretty enjoyable. But in the case of the entire run itself of Young Justice by Michael Bendis, I found this to be a pretty good book. I thoroughly enjoyed. Yes, I do own all 3 trades of this book. I love all the Easter eggs. Yes, basically we have 15 people here. But here's the thing. If you read the original Peter David run, this is about the same amount of people they had for the original run. Yeah. The only difference is they did not include one character who was actually part of the original run. Yeah, she's not here. The character's Secret. Yeah, she's nowhere in this series. I'm like, really? Yeah, you include Wonder Girl, Superboy, Impulse, Robin. Okay, pretty good. I like the fact they include them. It's my only guess is the reason why Bendis included Aqualad, and this is just my personal theory. there probably was an editorial mandate they had to include Colette in the Young Justice comic book because the Young Justice TV show is on I think it's HBO Max right now. As the case, the other characters, Stephanie, I'm sure he's probably planning on bringing her in because she was featured at the start of the series. But what about Sideways and Arrowlet? Arrowlet, I'm sure, was probably someone's suggestion to bring her in. But I love the fact they brought her in because she was part of the original Young Justice group, so why not include her here? So good job there. But what about Sideways? Well, and this is my personal theory, I think that was probably something that was told by... I think Bendis was told to put him in the book. And this is my personal theory, because this is probably before he got fired. I think it was Dan DiDio's suggestion to put him in the book. I'm sure Bendis was like, okay, I'll put him in the book. But that's my personal theory. But what about the stuff with Red Tornado? My theory on that is that was probably Peter David's suggestion. Yeah, maybe he got contacted Peter David and he got some ideas on what he could do to end this series. He'd be like, okay, include Arrowlet and include Red Tornado. I mean, you include pretty much some of the characters I pretty much helped build up. That's probably what he said. But if I get a chance to talk to Peter David again, I'm going to ask him about this one. How did he feel about Brian Michael Bendis' take on a book that he, originally wrote back in the late 90s, early 2000s? Me personally, I think this was a good book. I mean, if you include the second volume, which was 25 issues, yes, second volume was a tie-in to the Young Justice TV show. If you include it, pretty much, if you think about it, the series has had like 100 issues. Well, let's see here. 20, I bring up to 75 because the original line was 55 issues. 5 brought up to 80. And with the final issue of this, that's roughly 100 issues. Yep, 100 issues Young Justice. But if you decide not to include second volume, it's roughly about 75 issues. That's my personal guess anyways for that. But yeah, that's it for this particular review. I have one more video I'm going to do today, and that'll be a review for 7 Deadly Sins. Okay, to the next video. Bye.